From the headquarters of Tell Us Your English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South, and I am Soyini Gray. We begin in Cuba, where 3 women have been rescued from a plane crash at Havana's Jose Marti airport. The Boeing 737 crashed shortly after takeoff with more than 100 people on board. Officials say there were 105 passengers and 9 crew members on the flight. There were also 4 children and an infant under the age of 2. The survivors were taken to the University General Hospital, Calizo Garcia, in the capital, where they remain in a critical condition. The plane took off from Havana's Jose Marti airport, and its destination was the province of Holguin, west of the country. Emergency workers are still at the site of the crash, where images showed a destroyed plane wing and initial video showed a thick plume of smoke from the accident site, which could have been seen from miles away. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel went to the crash site with members of his cabinet, including Health Minister Roberto Morales and the Vice President of the Council of Senate.
This is an unfortunate accident. We have to wait for more official news because there is a large number of casualties. In the name of the Cuban government and the party, we want to give our condolences to the families of the victims of this tragic accident. I think there was an immediate response from our government, ministers, local authorities, authorities from the airport, forensic medicine and firefighters, to respond accordingly to this accident.
And nearby residents reacted with shock to the crash.
This has a very real impact on us, regardless if we had family members on there or not. They are people.
This is a terrible tragedy. We are very emotional with this. Everything was on fire.
This is catastrophic. This should never happen. One never imagines something like this will happen.
We can now go live to our correspondent in Havana, Laura Prada. Laura, what can you tell us?
Hello, Soyini. Yes, nice to greet you. We just arrived from the site of the crash. We were about 200 meters away from the site of the crash, and there was police and security that was not allowing people to get more closer because legal authorities were searching and we are gathering the information to identify the bodies and to find the something that indicates them which were the causes of this accident, Soyini. In this moment, the families of the victims are in a meeting with legal authorities also, giving them, providing the information they have in their hands so the authorities can identify the victims. These investigations are led by the Cuban Institute of the Civil Aeronautics and the Criminalistic Central Lab. This investigation is taking its time, so the results of the investigations that provide which were the causes of this accident are not given yet. They are not found yet. The president of the island, Miguel Diaz-Canel, when he visited the site, he requested the legal authorities to give an fast and immediate answer on which were the causes of this incident. In the place of the crash, also it's an agricultural place, so it's a farm, so there are no damages to any private or social place. The plane crashed in an area with trees and plantations, so there's no other victims from the 104 passengers and the crew members, which were all foreigners. They would belong to the company to which Cubana airline hired the airplane. This is what's been taking place. We'll follow any other information when the results of the investigation providing the answer, the results, the cause of this accident will give some more information. We have to be very attending to the Cuban television because in any minute more updated information should be coming out, Toyini.
Thank you so much, Laura Prada. We appreciate your reporting. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has sent his thoughts to the people of Cuba. Maduro said in a tweet, "Our words of condolences to the relatives and the victims of today's fatal air crash in Havana. Strength and peace to them in this moment of pain. They have all our support." And Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness has reacted to the plane crash as well, saying on Facebook and Twitter, "Our thoughts and prayers go out to our Caribbean neighbors in Cuba. We pray for the safety of the passengers and flight crew." As did Roosevelt Skerritt of Dominica, who said that his thoughts are with the government and people of Cuba at this time. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos has accused President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela of giving identification cards to Colombians in order to transport them over the border to vote for him in Sunday's election. The Colombian president could not provide further details about the alleged plot, but said it reaffirmed Colombia's decision to not recognize the results of Sunday's vote. Venezuelan authorities have said the border will be closed from Friday at 9 p.m. to Monday at 6 a.m. Venezuela's Foreign Minister Jorge Ariasa has denied those claims.
Yesterday, Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos made some ridiculous accusations. First, he said they confiscated a shipment of food for the Venezuelan people in the Cartagena port. Then he said the Venezuelan government registered thousands of Colombian citizens to cross the border and vote for Maduro on Sunday's elections. This only proves how absurd other regional governments are. We have closed the border until Monday. So don't worry, President Santos. People will not cross the border.
And campaigning in Venezuela has come to an end ahead of Sunday's election. International observers have arrived to monitor the election and make sure it is a trouble-free event. Among the observers is Spanish former President José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero. Zapatero was one of the mediators in peace talks between the Venezuelan opposition and government in the Dominican Republic. He says he is committed to making sure the May 20th elections are fair and transparent.
We have come to participate as international observers to monitor the electoral process in Venezuela. I'm honored to be accompanied by Marcos Ciprianiu, former Foreign Minister of Cyprus, and Jean-Pierre Bel, representative of the former French President Hollande in Latin America. We have had a meeting with the CNE President, Tibisay Lucena, to review and examine the electoral process, especially everything related to the electronic voting system and voting centers. We want to thank the CNE authorities for sharing their information with us. We hope for a successful election day with all the rights guaranteed to citizens and where all the candidates' representatives participate equally. We want a peaceful and constructive election day.
And our correspondent Ian Bruce has more from Caracas.
We're here at the Miraflores Palace in Caracas, where the former Spanish Prime Minister José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero has just met with President Nicolas Maduro and then made some very strong declarations to the press. Now, Rodríguez Zapatero is here as one of the guests accompanying these elections, but he was really talking about the possibilities of what will happen after the elections and the possibility of a new dialogue which President Maduro has proposed. We asked him about the possibility of a new round of talks with the opposition, the Venezuelan opposition in San Domingo. He's very much in favor of that. He says he's going to work for it, and he says it could include anyone. He said he made the point that the opposition's own representative on the National Electoral Council told him this morning that the conditions for elections now are exactly the same as they existed in 2015 when the opposition won the National Assembly. He says no reason why these elections should not be recognized and why there shouldn't be a major national dialogue, including all sectors of the opposition, after the elections.
More news in a minute, but join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are working on.
¡Que viva el movimiento indígena!
Kuna, taita kuna, mama kuna. Kai pika mana yanga kaji saya kunchichu hasta wakaring.
Nos retiraron los celulares y nos obligaron a conducir el carro a pesar de que no tenía neumáticos sino en aros para una quebrada botar con el carro y las 4 personas. Apareció, decían que la prensa llegaba, se asustaron y luego los llevaron hacia la plaza de Cochabamba.
Nuestras fuentes de agua, ¿dónde que dejaron nuestros abuelos para defender? Yo les digo, nosotros ya estamos viejos, acá los señores también están viejos, pero los hijos de ustedes, los hijos de ellos, ¿qué agua van a tomar?
En la consulta popular dijimos ya no más minería en las fuentes de agua, parques nacionales, áreas protegidas. La minería continúa.
Las autoridades.
Welcome back. All of Chile's bishops have offered their resignation to Pope Francis following 3 days of meetings with the pontiff aimed at addressing child sex abuse by Catholic priests. The bishops apologized to Chile, to the victims, and to the Pope for the scandal. It is still not known whether Pope Francis will accept the resignations.
We want to announce that all of us, Chilean bishops here in Rome, had put our positions in the hands of the Holy Father so that he can decide freely for each of us.
Cada uno de nosotros. Agradecemos al Papa Francisco.
We thank Pope Francis for having listened to us like a father and for his brotherly corrections. Most of all, we want to ask for forgiveness for the suffering we caused to the victims, to the Pope, to the people of God, and to Chile for our serious mistakes and omissions.
Meanwhile, Juan Carlos Cruz, one of the victims, said the bishop's resignation was good news. He tweeted, "This is good for our beloved country." for so many people have suffered because of corrupt bishops and liars. For all of the victims who survived, there is no looking back. History has changed. A Brazilian judge has denied Luiz Ignacio da Silva's certain rights that former presidents are normally entitled to. The decision means Lula no longer has access to his security guards, advisors, and drivers. Judge Geraldo Nader said that the former president is now in the custody of the state, which guarantees him much more security. But Lula's lawyer argued that the removal of these rights are illegal. Healthcare workers in Peru are striking for a second day. Our correspondent in Lima, Jaime Herrera, has more.
Today
is the second day of the strike of healthcare workers across the country. Many of them are demanding higher wages and equal benefits for all. They said there are about 45,000 workers at the national level without formal contracts, which means they can be laid off at any time. They don't have the right to strike. They marched to the health ministry demanding answers from the authorities. However, they were stopped by security forces. They will hold a demonstration outside Congress to demand new contracts, bigger budget for the healthcare system.
In Ecuador, the army confirms they found the soldiers who disappeared 6 days ago while on patrol in the province of Cachi near the Colombian border. General Roque Cedeno said the 8 soldiers are in good condition. They were last heard from on May 16th. Adverse weather conditions forced them to take shelter, where they lost contact with their unit. They were found after extensive aerial searches and have returned to their base. 4 days ago, a soldier left the same base without authorization, but there's no information on his current whereabouts. And the Ecuadorian government has ordered the withdrawal of additional security assigned to its embassy in London, where the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has been living for the past 6 years. The announcement came after claims that the government has spent over $5 million on Assange's security. Earlier in March, his communication systems were suspended after he made political comments on Twitter, which the government in Quito thought was endangering its diplomatic relations. The Australian IT expert took refuge in the embassy in 2012 to avoid sexual abuse charges in Sweden. He continues to deny those charges. In Barbados, Prime Minister Frundle Stewart and the Democratic Labour Party launched their manifesto on Thursday. It outlines their plans for the country if they are to win a third term. Prime Minister Stewart said the manifesto is a continuation of the Barbados Sustainable Recovery Plan. It includes a 15% land tax rebate for tourism and corporation tax deductions of up to 150% of expenditures related to the use of local content from local agriculture.
And we told the country and we told the opposition, this is the plan. We didn't have to repeat all that is in the plan in this manifesto, because the plan is there. But all of that can come to naught if the right choices are not exercised on the 24th of May.
But the opposition Barbados Labour Party, the head, Mayor Marti, is slamming the DLP's manifesto, saying it doesn't relate to the people of Barbados. Marti had read from the DLP's manifesto one day before they officially launched it, in a tit-for-tat with the ruling party, which was blamed for leaking the BLP's manifesto before the official launch.
Well, last night at Cleverdale, I presented to you what they are now trying to present in Oistins tonight. But what struck me was that that document was bereft of a vision. That document had no vision. That document did not speak of a Barbados that you and I want to relate to.
Jamaica is going to get a new parliament building and citizens will have an opportunity to design it. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has launched a design competition for architects to design a new Jamaican parliament building. As Prime Minister Holness explains, the current parliament was not specifically built for its current function, and as such, the structure is woefully inadequate.
I also want you to consider that Jamaica has a bicameral legislature. But Gordon House only has one chamber. And you could understand why. The parish council is unicameral. It just has one house. So the Senate and the lower house shares the same space. And so the business of the country is technically hampered because you have to meet on different days.
In Argentina, workers have been protesting on the streets of Buenos Aires, calling for better wages and for the government to end the talks with the IMF.
Workers are blocking the streets to demonstrate for a decent wage to make ends meet.
We are practically living in poverty. This is how Argentinian people are living. We are suffering because of higher prices for basic amenities. We can't continue living like this.
Sales on the streets have dropped. The money we earn is not enough, and that's why we are demonstrating against Macri's policies.
Union leaders say they have had enough of everything going up, except for their salaries. They have their own take on the current government policies.
We're living in a war between speculators and poor people. We think that the agreement between the International Monetary Fund is going to perpetuate this poverty situation that we already have here in Argentina. The IMF debt will be paid by this and next generations.
With rising inflation, the workers say they won't sign a salary increase that is less than the cost of living, which in the first quarter of 2018 was almost 10%. They also say that they will not allow any public employee to be fired.
We have lost 24% of our purchasing power. We would rather not negotiate if they are only talking about a 12 or 15% increase. We can't talk like this, so we are in a crossroads with the government.
The workers are asking President Macri to understand, listen to the people, and to see how poverty is growing, and the salaries are getting worse every day. Unions say that if they don't get a straight answer, the demonstrations will continue.
The official residence of the Chilean President La Moneda Palace was illuminated on Thursday evening with the colors of the LGBTI flag to commemorate the International Day against homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia. The rainbow colors on the presidential palace marked the end of a campaign boosted by the National Movement for Homosexual Integration and Liberation to promote tolerance across Chile. This commemorates the date of May 17, 1990, when the World Health Organization removed homosexuality from its list of mental illnesses. We're going to take another short break now, but join us again after another look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting. Welcome back. At least 8 people have died in a shooting at a high school in Santa Fe, Texas. Police searching the building said they have taken into custody a student suspected of the attack, and they found explosives in the school building. Witnesses say the sound of gunshots tore through the air, and live TV images showed lines of students evacuating the building while heavily armed police responded to the scene. The incident was the latest in a long series of deadly shootings at U.S. schools. In February, 17 teens and educators were shot dead at a Parkland, Florida high school in a massacre that revived the nation's long-running debate over gun ownership.
We don't know, just, we're still searching, so there could be additional that are injured. I was focused on the fatalities, those deceased, and we have approximately 10. That's still not fully confirmed. I know that it could be in that range, but I'm told the majority of those are probably students.
The U.S. Senate has confirmed Gina Haspel as the director of the CIA. She will be the first woman in the role. Haspel was approved despite opposition over her links to the CIA's use of harsh interrogation methods, including waterboarding, which is a type of simulating drowning widely considered to be torture, in the years after the September 11 attacks.
Valuable information.
May 20th this year marks the first ever UN World Bee Day. The aim is to encourage people across the world to preserve and protect these vital but endangered species. Bees are essential for maintaining the world's food supply. 1/3 of all food production depends on their role as pollinators. However, their population has been drastically reduced due to the use of pesticides, parasites, and climate change. We've come to the end of this news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website at talisyourtv.net/English. You should also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Talis Your English, I'm Soini Gray. Thank you so much for watching.
A sign of